Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to have you all here again for amazing Spiritual Rockstar podcast show. It's just beautiful, amazing, powerful, fun, chillaxing, amazing being here. And Jen Russman, hello.
Woohoo! Hello, my friend. It's so good to be here. Thank you.
So good. And we met on here online, and I don't know, it's just one of those cosmic connections, when you just know, and you have that spark of the divine with each other. We had that experience, and just like, hey, soul sister, let's talk, let's do something together. And we got talking about her on the podcast, because she does just really powerful, incredible work, and she has an incredible story to share with you that will inspire you through whatever you're dealing with, as well as my feelings. So let me just share a little bit about her with you. So Jen Russman is a fully empowered woman, wife, mom, intuitive guide, and energy healer for women and children. After years as a hostage to addiction and then a failing body and much more that she'll share about, she decided to heal and be free. Isn't it amazing? So many people are dealing with so many things. The ability to decide and heal and be free, amazing. I'm looking forward to talking to her about that. With more than 25 years of healing and coaching experience, Jen leads with her empathic gifts and intuition to guide you home to, this is where we really connect too, guide you home to your divine power within. Her practice includes emotional energy healing, bioenergetic frequency healing, mental wellness care, oh yeah, and divinely led coaching. She is one of those definite up and coming spiritual rock stars in the world, and I'm just, again, so glad to have you here, Jen. You're definitely got all that goodness going, and that, I want to say that rock and roll spirit that I love. Like, let's do this thing. That's a great.
Wish I played an instrument.
Yeah. So talking about that, I mean,
wow.
Yeah, we talked about, like, I'd just like to piggyback off of something, comment you made that applies to all of us. You said, I just, I say things to guests before they come on. It's not like you're the only one. Like I said, hey, just be yourself, in the interview. So, well, like, there's no other choice. That's
who else am I going to be?
I've already tried that one, you said. And like, haven't we all? We've tried to wear masks. We've tried to fit in different boxes. That's what a lot of our spiritual rock stars up and coming and have experienced, and people that are rocking it out continue to experience at different levels. And the only way to come back home in every way, is simply to let go of all that and just be ourselves. And what we don't realize is that's what actually is going to be the thing that sets us free. We just don't get it until we do. And so I know you have a whole story about that. That's why I kind of use that as a lead-in too. Like, tell us about, like, because I mean, I consider myself a total weirdo, in a worldly sense, like what the norm is. So I consider myself like a weirdo, right? And I see you that way too. Like, I'm like, you were weirdos, right?
And I don't know if I said to you, but weird is a side effect of being awesome.
Yes.
Have you heard that? I read that on Facebook, so it must be true.
Yeah. We see it on Facebook.
I read it when I saw a thing on Facebook years ago. I said, weird is a side effect of being awesome. I'm like, well, that must be true.
Don't know if I've heard it quite in those words, but yeah. I go with that.
So it's good to be weird.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be offended when people say, you're such a nerd, you're so weird, or you're so this or that. The nerd word always used to trigger me. I'm like, finally I got past that. I'm like, I am, my God, I'm glad to be a nerd. I'm glad I'm not like just everybody else. I'm glad I'm different. I stand out, and once you realize that's a good thing, you can see it as a blessing rather than, something where like the idea is when you're a nerd, you're weird, like you're going to get picked on, abused, whatever. you start to realize like the gift of just being you, and just even letting go of even the labels and the concepts, just being like, oh, whatever, I'm all that, like
Yeah.
just
But
going
isn't that
straight.
what we always are trying to hide? We're always trying to hide that part of ourselves that we think isn't going to be accepted, right?
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. And that puts on the personas. I know for me, there are times I went through that at times because I'm not the typical, masculine guy and this and that's, the stereotypical masculine, right? So it's
mhm.
like, okay, well, um, then you come up with different coping strategies. One is, I'll kick your ass. I'll show you how strong I am. And then I can't do that. But
Yourself.
then what good does that do? What do you prove? Nothing. I mean, like, it's
Yeah.
not doing you any good.
No.
And then if you go really passive, like, like going to these different coping strategies in life,
Mm,
and they're all from traumas, our past life traumas, this life trauma, being the kid who, like, I mean, I kind of picked on some kids when I was a kid. I did that a little bit, but I also had some kids like terrorize me a little bit,
yeah.
and then you try to find coping strategies. And
It leaves its
so
mark. Absolutely.
you talk about today we are talking about healing whole from trauma, the missing link. So tell us about your own journey, because I feel you have a similar, well, you have a totally different story than mine, but like a similar
Similar.
story about you. Like, I'm kind of weird, I'm kind
Well,
of different. I suffered from that, and so tell us
yeah.
about your story and how you helped yourself come back
Yeah.
home more and more. Yeah.
It's interesting because oftentimes, even though the details may be different, the underlying feelings and experience is very, very similar. And that's what bonds us all as humans, but also as spiritual beings, right? So that's why I think that we can connect so deeply, because the undertow of what we experienced is the same on
Mhm.
many levels. So for me, my story starts at a very young age, at age 2.5 to 3, when I am a survivor of sexual trauma from my childhood. And I went to my mother when I was, I believe, 3 or 4, and told her what was happening. She was not able to protect me. That's all worked out. It's good. I'm close. Love my mom. But unfortunately, the decision she made, cost me for many years because it continued and went on. So I was, went through that trauma from probably age 2.5, 3 to about 11. And so I, now looking back at 51 years old, recognize that I was born a truth teller. I was telling my truth from a very young age. And even stupid things like, I don't like the meatloaf. If you make me eat the meatloaf, I'm going to get sick. And then you have the standoff at the table. And then I finally eat it. And then what happens? Sick all over the table. So even stupid stuff like that. Like, I always was telling the truth. I was born a truth teller. But I was never heard, or I wasn't believed, or it was pushed aside, or it was rolled over. So there was suppression, right? Suppression. And so the more that happened, the older I got, I slowly started to stop telling my truth. I stopped speaking up. And then I found alcohol around age 12. By 14, a second time I drank at 14, I was in an ambulance. I had alcohol poisoning. I mean, so I was an alcoholic from the get-go. So I found that as a coping skill, right, to with everything that was going on. And fast forward to about age 19 is when the memory started flooding forward from the abuse. And that's where I really crossed the line in my addiction. And it was too painful to be in the now. So I did everything I could to not be. And so that was just yet another layer of suppression, right? Adding in the addiction and stuffing everything down and numbing out. And so by the time I was 24, the end of my 24th year, I hit bottom with my addiction. It was a very painful bottom. It was another sexual trauma. And so I ended up in 12-step recovery. Thank God that began my healing journey back to myself. And fast forward to about 4 years after I started to get, so I was about 4 years in recovery, just like I was thawing out. I had a very slow thawing out process. And I'm 29 years old, and I wake up one day and I can't see out of my right eye correctly. My left side is semi-paralyzed, and I'm just thinking I'm stressed. Like, I'm so in denial, right? Long story short, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. MS. And so it seemed to come out of left field. Like I was like, I just woke up one day and I was like, but looking back now, I recognize like that's not true. I didn't just wake up one day and my bottom randomly go haywire. It was like years of suppression and years of trauma that got stored in my body on a cellular level and an energetic level. And so by the time I was 29, my body, who had been doing all the work for me and carrying it for me so beautifully, fell apart. It was a cry for help. Now, did I know all that at the time? No, I do now. So what happened at that point, I was diagnosed at 29, and fast forward about almost 7 years later, I had been living sick, disabled, and homebound probably 80% of the time. So was that really living? Not really. I was existing in a body that wasn't working anymore, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And so I woke up I was around age 36. My son was 2. I was struggling to take care of him. And I woke up one day, and this was when my life changed. This is the day I became a powerful creator. I woke up and I woke up, and the first thing that happened is I was sitting there. I'll never forget. I'm sitting there and I'm literally like looking around the room, looking down at myself, and I'm going, is this it? Like, that's all I could hear in my head was like, is this it? And do you ever go back and you create space? And in that moment, I did that. And I was like, okay, I'm 36. I got a long ways to go the rest of my life. And I couldn't see living like this for 50 more years or 40, you know what I mean? So that was the first thing, is this it? And then the next thing that came through for me was, no, this is not it. And then it was, okay, I don't know what it, quote unquote, looks like, but I sure as heck know that this right here, this crap, this is not it. And so it was an instant, like this was like a whole moment that I had. And then the real moment came after that whole little mini conversation that happened very quickly. And that moment that came, I heard a voice, and I hear messages. That's one of my gifts. And I heard the divine voice, and it was very loving, and it said, I'm not going to live sick anymore. It was just very conviction. I'm not living sick anymore. And that was the moment when I heard, I just knew I was done in that moment. So at that point, I just knew I didn't, but the thing was, I didn't know how. I didn't know the how, right? And I know so many people struggle with the how of stuff, right? So all I knew was that I was going to heal. So when you think about going back this many years, the internet wasn't what it seemed, or what it is now. And we didn't have connection at the touch of a button like we do today, and access to information like we do today. So I really was alone. I went to the library, I went to the bookstores. I couldn't find one book. I just wanted one person who said, you can get better, you can heal from this. And it wasn't available at the time. So everything that I did moving forward from that divine moment, I had a mentor, and it was a divine mentor, and I was divinely led on this journey. And that began my journey of moving within and experiencing the powerful what I call the powerful creator within myself. So that's the seed of powerful creator, and the seed for transformation and transcendence in my life.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, there's so much there. I don't know where to start really in getting into everything you just shared, but I just wanted to start with actually just the part you said, I heard that voice, that came through. And I had that experience in my life too, where it's like, it's not us. It feels like it's not us, right? So it's not us, it's something that's channels through us.
Yes.
And it just like, it's deciding for us,
Yes.
like you're open enough to available to that frequency that just comes in, okay, this is it, whatever it is. And I've experienced that grace in my life too. But it's like, I think like, I'm always want to ask you, like, I feel like the work that you do, I feel like fast forwarding already a little bit, but like, I think some of the work that you do helps people to open so they can get that frequency, even if it's not a voice, but they get the frequency, that helps them to come into that wholeness. I think like that's part of how it works. I might be wrong, but like, but that's just how
Beautiful. It's
but
beautiful
like,
how you're
I just,
describing it.
yeah, tell me more about that. Let's have a talk about that. Yeah, because that's what I'm sensing about. I think, we all kind of do our work that way, but like, to do
Yeah.
energy work. But like, I wanted to hear your perspective on that, and about all that. Yeah.
It's really about, it really comes back to each of us trusting that inner knowing. We all have an inner knowing inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not perfect. So like, trust me when I tell you, like, I've had many opportunities to experience when I don't listen to my own inner knowing. I have a lot of experience with this. So every single time I don't listen, intuition, my inner knowing, which I truly believe is that divine frequency that you speak of, um, things don't really work out that well. They don't go so well for Jen, right? But every single time that I do, things always seem to work out. Even if it didn't work out the way that I had seen it or thought it should, they always work out. So I think that's really key is, um, getting people to like slow down and to like, because especially like people, women, men, children with trauma, like I was never fully grounded in my body. So it's like I was floating around. I was disassociated. I was numb. I never allowed, because it wasn't safe to be in my body. So I work with people with trauma. So even if it's not on the conscious level, it's a subconscious thing that it's not safe to be there fully. So that's a huge piece of what I do, is bringing you back into your body so that you can now connect with that, really, like, not even connect with it, but integrate it. Like, I'm all about integrating a person with their inner child, their now, their self in the now, their inner child, younger you, and then your higher self. There's like a trinity of integration that happens. And so and I love, like, I'm actually putting together a course called The Power of Decision, and it's all about the divine, and making decisions, being led by the divine within you. And so I love that we're talking about this, because it's an extraordinary experience when, like, I love that you use the word frequency, when you can tap into that frequency, which is yours. We learning how to be, it's really about learning how to become an energetic match to what you're seeking, right? So if it's becoming an energetic match, and doing that is, for me, was all about really integrating with the divine, who I truly believe we are the divine, right? Like, the universe expresses itself as me, the universe expresses itself as you. We're all one. So we all have that power within us. It's just up to us to decide to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's simple, decide. I mean, it all starts with a decision.
Right, exactly. And we talked about that, before, when we first met. We talked about that. I talked about how I had taught a course many years ago, but on the power of decision, and it's like a huge part of, and I just remembering, like, something I'm about to share with the world soon has to, it's not that, but like, it includes, like, that's a major piece I'm going to talk about. It's like, it is so, it's such a, people don't know how to truly make that decision. It's something I've talked about for years, like, to really make the decision. People say, oh, I did decide and it didn't work out. The frequency didn't drop in. If it's in, whatever all the frequency is you need, it hasn't dropped in yet. If you're feeling all this bad energy about it, or chaos, or whatever, like, and then it's not happening, that whole story. And then you haven't really made a decision, because when you make a decision, there's like you may still have some fear and anxiety here and there, but for sure, but like, you know, it's just a feeling like it's happening. You just know, just like when you heard that voice, right? It just is when you get in that energy. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to hear your perspective more about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and I've come to, I have my own definition based on my own experience of power. Like I coined the term power of decision, and it's really divine. And it really, this is my definition of it. It's choosing and embodying an unshakable truth that completely changes the trajectory of your life. That's my definition of the power of decision. You know, how do you do that? Well, that's where I come in with my clients and the women that I work with, right? Is, you know, really leading them through that experience of, you know, they have to feel safe to land in their body. They have to feel safe to trust, to listen, you know, because like for me, Daniel, like my experiences, I've spent most of my life tiptoeing around and eggshelling around the power inside of me. I felt it when I was young. I could feel it when I was a kid. Right. And it scared me. I didn't understand. I didn't know what it was. And I was afraid of it. So I thought that my fears were, I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid of being visible. I'm afraid of, you know, being successful. I'm afraid of failure. Those are my sub fears. My main fear, my mama fear, the queen bee fear was my own power. I was afraid of that. So I don't think I'm alone in that either. I think that a lot of people probably are afraid of that power inside of themselves, because with that power comes responsibility. Because whenever we're trying to change or transcend or transmute something, there's a responsibility that comes with it, right? So yeah, so it's really all I can say is it's the power of decision. For me, this is like what you and I are talking about is not about like making those surface decisions or choices in our lives. Like I'm talking about the type that there's an area within yourself or in your life that needs like some serious overhaul, some serious healing. And it's going to require a power of decision on a divine magnitude. And I don't want to scare anybody by saying that, because it's not scary. It's beautiful. It's so freeing when we're able to turn ourselves over to that and the frequency, like you said, and allow it to move into us. And so it's really about showing my clients, you know, okay, it's safe to come home into your body, and it's safe to open and allow this to move through you. Because I don't want to say to come into you, because it's already inside of you. It's really about opening up the latch. Like we all have that latch really tight on the inside, keeping it down, right? It's really about opening that latch and allowing it to like flow through us. And then that's where the integration happens.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of ways of trying to talk about it, right? Like it comes in, you know, it's already in. You're like, I know. It's like, it's interesting trying to talk about these things because we don't really know how it all works really, but in a way we do, you know, we're guides, right? We're just guides into trying to describe, you know, these things, and it evokes that truth within other people. So, so it's a beautiful thing. That's why, and I'm just so enjoying this, this interview with you. And so and it's because it's such a huge subject. I think this is going to be such an amazing thing for everybody to take a look at for themselves, because I think most of our listeners probably have fear of their standing in their power, and they have experienced lifetimes of being like, you know, right, you experience the same thing when you read people, but lifetimes of being the abuser, lifetimes of being the abuser. So, I mean, really, when you think about it, like, why would we have any, you know, judgment towards abusers? Chances are we were an abuser in a past life, you know, like, so, like, you know, we carry, we were with that frequency at another time. So, you know, so when you can kind of remember that in a way, and kind of see into what's really going on with everything, it is liberating, I feel, and it helps you to find more of that center, you know, that frequency of the real center of the divine within. And it helps us start to get through the interference or, the conditioning, right, that you reference, the
Yes.
conditioning around the trauma that wants to change. So
Yes.
that conditioning that people have is pretty strong, though, and they will run from their, because I think people that experience trauma often are very, very powerful people, and they're magnetizing other people that put that power over them and traumatize them. And it's like trying to, I mean, this is my perspective, you tell me, but like it's trying to awaken the person to their deeper true essence and power. And that's what I believe. And that's the role that they're playing. But it's hard to reconcile the literal like sense of trauma, right? That's built up in our energy and body, to be able to even begin to access in a way that feels true and real that power within. Is what I've seen for, I guess for myself, and definitely for other people that experience really tremendous trauma. So
yeah, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about how those of us with trauma, like we have this power inside of us. And this just came through for me. I call it a divine download, but like like when we're in that, like I was a victim when I was a child. I was victimized. But growing up and getting older, then it's no longer, I'm not a victim anymore. I'm kind of choosing the same pattern over and over again. I'm choosing to play, like I played the role. I played it very, very well. I was still waiting for my Oscar in the mail. Like I was like awesome at playing the victim, right? So like that's almost like misplaced power, because I used being a victim, quote unquote, that was powerful for me. That that protected me, that kept me from taking responsibility, that kept me from so many things. And so it can be very, very misplaced. Like we can misplace our power in the wrong way, and all our energy goes into thinking, like maintaining, like we hold on. We're so attached to these labels and to these experiences, like but I was abused, right? And sometimes we hold on to that, and that's misplaced power. Like if we could break away from the attachment to that, and transcend that energy into the power that it's meant to be while we're here. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of people that are in that place where there's so much you say. I mean, that we could talk about, but yeah, this sense of, but this happened to me, but this happened to me. How do you help people through that when they're in a place where maybe even they've gotten through layers of that? I think most people listening probably have gotten through, some of the layers of their trauma, but it's still affecting them. So part of them keeps thinking, yeah, but maybe they know better, so to speak. They've gotten through that. I don't know how else to put it. But they keep saying, but I was traumatized. Like I do it. Like even like I think like I don't know. I mean, I could never say like what you experience is like anything like what I experienced, right? But yet, why is it? It's so I know why, but like in this lifetime, the trauma I experienced, the one that bothered me the most, was as simple as someone trying to make me do things when I was a kid that I didn't want to do. That wasn't, sexual abuse and all that stuff, but like it was just as simple as like they wanted me to be a clown and be class clown, and hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I loved being class clown until I did it. Until one day I said, I'm not doing it anymore. And then this person persecutes me, like that's it. All kinds of stuff came my way then. And so that was the thing, like, believe it or not, it's like the number one thing that in my conscious awareness that was a thing, like the trauma in this life. And it sounds so like, oh damn, that's not nothing compared to what some of us have experienced. I know, but then why does it affect me so much? Then I have to look into my past lives and I see exactly why it's so big. Like I see like how big that is, why that triggered me so much, and how big that is for me. And so sometimes whether it was a big one we've experienced in this life, or was something that doesn't seem so big, that some kids would have just brushed off and gone on with their life, no big deal, is huge for other people. So I think, yeah, it's just, but a lot of it does come down to this relationship we have with the sense of our power, that people have power over us. We're experiencing a lot of that, you know, in our path and in the world. And then we also have the experience of, well, if I stand in my power, am I going to maybe abuse it? Like there's even that concern, I
Sure.
think, people, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I'm just having a conversation with you really here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, you know, your perspective on that because yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
'cause there's people that not most of the people listening probably haven't experienced the trauma that you've experienced at that level, you know, at the same level, but
You
they've
never
all
know.
experienced some huge trauma in their life, most likely,
Yeah. I
most
mean,
of them.
trauma is trauma. So whether
Right,
it's you were bullied
right.
or you were hit or you were verbally, abused, you were emotionally neglected, there's so many forms, right?
Yeah,
You were teased, you were, I mean, I got called ape face. Like I was bullied and teased too. So like there's, you add up the big picture. Like trauma can be the grief and loss of a child. I mean, it's,
mhm,
there's so many, it's an
yeah,
umbrella term, right?
yes,
Um, so, but, speaking to what you were just saying, like, yeah, when we're younger, people do have power over us. But then we get to a point, what I experienced was like, I was giving my power away left and right. I was giving it away, giving it away, giving it away. And
yeah,
the day that I woke up and had the divine intervention, that was the day I began to truly take my power back. And
mhm,
so, but I still was dodging the real power in me, which is the empath, which is the intuitive, which is the messages, the gifts that I came here with to develop and share with the world. And so, to answer your question, the women, I do work with men as well. So the people who come to me, generally speaking, many of them they're like me. They are at a place in their life where I've done the work, I've done all the right things. I've done counseling, I've done group counseling. Maybe there's 12-step recovery involved, tapping, meditation, yoga, all these modalities. Like they've done it. Like I did all the work. I had done all the work. And then last year, I'm like, at 50 years old, I'm like, but like, it's almost like, maybe not so much like, yeah, but I was abused, but it's more like, well, what's wrong with me? Like I did all the work. Like that's where I was last year. It was like, I did all the work. Why why do I still feel this like deep weight and sadness in the pit of my being, weighed down, and why am I still looping around in the trauma, what I call the trauma loop, which is really triggers and self-sabotage. So I had my tool bag. You have your tool bag of all these modalities, things that we've learned, that self-development, personal development, spiritual tools. And oh, I got triggered. Let me pull out my bag, pull out the tools, chisel my way through this loop, get through it, come out the other side, maybe a little self-sabotage here and there, put the bag away and keep going until the next trigger. Like that was my cycle. That's the cycle I see with people that have traumas that are unresolved. Because, and what I learned, what I found, I had a deep surrender last year around this, and it led me to a couple energy guides. And one of them I did a couple sessions with, and it was transformative. And I was like, what are you doing? Like I landed home. This is it. This is I recognized this. Like it was like a soul's recognition of what she was doing with me. And so I then continued to do the healing work on my own. I self-taught and I self-healed. Then I went and I got certified because I knew this is it. I've been looking for what I meant to do to serve on this planet and raise the vibration one human at a time. And this is what I meant to do. And so when I went through this experience myself, I cleared myself. What I discovered was that when we experience trauma or painful experiences or events, and the emotions that we feel when it happens are not processed fully or properly, they become trapped and stored in the body in these little energy balls. And one by one, they get trapped and stored, and they build up and build up and build up. And once you start getting enough of them, they can be very disruptive to the point where, they're in the energy body, but they're also disruptive in the physical body, where, some of your pains in your body could be aggravated or caused by these trappings. So what I discovered, the missing link to healing whole, quote unquote, from trauma is energy. Like, it's energetic. Like, I realized, oh my God, I am still energetically attached to these old traumas and pains. And I never saw that before. And so when I went through the work and self-healed and came out the other side of it, it was like, I term it now, I call it, it's a sacred rebirth. It's literally like any cords, think of like an umbilical cord, which keeps the life going, right? So there's this umbilical cord to every single one of these trapped emotions that are attaching you to the old trauma or experience, painful experience. When you cut those cords, when you release those attachments to those experiences, it's instant and it's permanent, and they never return. And then you are now, your energy body is free, but also your physical body is free now. The healing flow can open back up, and healing can take place. And that's really where, like, those energetic barriers are lifted out of you. And like, I work with a lot of light workers and healers, and they say that they can't believe the difference that they feel like when I remove the heart wall and open up their heart, like what it does for them. Because a lot of us healers and light workers have trauma in our background. We have blockages, you know, and we need healing too. So everybody that I work with, they agree it's like a sacred rebirth. Like, I go in and I locate like what I call seeds, which are like from the young ages. And then there's like unlayering that happens where we unlayer one trapping from the same experience, you know, at a time. And like, it's all about following your, like, if I was working with you, it'd be about following your body's lead, and your body will bring forward what needs to come forward. And then I'm the channel to facilitate the releases. And then that's where the freedom comes. So I am no longer the same. Like, I am not with that loop anymore. That it's not me. And this is the conditioning. This is the narrative that I want to change around trauma in this society. And it's generational, and it's also society where, you know, we are told and taught that, well, you know, you've been through this trauma, like, you're stuck with it. Like, you're stuck with it. It's woven into the fabric of who you are. They may not use those words, but that's essentially what they're telling you. And so here's some tools. You're just going to have to settle and learn how to cope for the rest of your life. And my experience this past year tells me differently. And it tells me otherwise, that is not true. And it does not have to be true for you or anybody else that's still suffering inside. And it comes back to the power of decision, of making the decision to try something like this to set yourself free if you're in that loop and you're still struggling.
Yeah. I mean, one of the quotes, and I still don't know if I got the guy's name right, but he is a philosopher, this Charles Lucouet or something like that was his name. And he'd say, what a terrifying marvel. As man deliberates, he waits your decision, is basically what it said. And isn't that amazing? I mean, you call it a terrifying marvel, but I mean, it is an interesting thing, like that, you know, so many people are just wondering, like, when's it going to be over? You know, when am I going to get to go back home? When am I going to be back out of this body? You know, it hasn't worked out so well this time. Or in the past, they know deeper down inside, like, this isn't working out, you know, it's better to just be in the light. And so one of the things is just deciding, like, that in this case, through to just not allow yourself to maintain to stay in the same loop of trauma, you know, realizing that you have the power to decide. I don't think most people, I mean, the average person just absolutely doesn't know that they have that level of ability to decide in their life, you know. I mean,
they don't.
So
I didn't. And
right.
So it was decided for me, basically. And I believe it happened because I'm meant to be a teacher of it while I'm here. Right. And changing the narrative around this, because we only know what we know. And I can't tell you how many women have said, oh my God, like they're crying, like they have so much hope. I've never heard anybody talk like this about trauma. I've never heard anybody tell me that I can be free of it, because nobody's talking like that, because nobody is taught to believe that.
No, not unless they've talked to like energy healers, maybe then, but
Right.
mostly no. I mean, even with energy healers, sometimes you don't hear that.
Right.
So, mostly, yeah, the therapists route for, I mean, I was a therapist. That's my background.
Yeah.
And, that's what the conversation always was, is that it's there. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if you feel this way about it, but I feel like as you come into greater wholeness with whatever your traumas are, I still think those wounds, I'd love to get your perspective on that. Do you feel like you're to a place where, oh yeah, those wounds, no, they don't affect me. I'm no loops. I'm not like, I just has no resonance. Those things don't even almost exist anymore. Basically, they don't exist. So I'm wondering about that. This is where I kind of I like to dig in and really get to the deeper truth.
Mhm.
My own personal perspective on it is, even when people say that, I don't totally buy it personally. I mean, I'm open, but I believe it's still there, but it's it always is a pointer into, the true essence and power of who we are. I mean,
Right.
the love that we are, all that, and
Yeah.
so if it shows up again, or if it gets your attention again, so to speak, or whatever, however you want to look at it, but it's just pointing you back into that, and you start to get into a new relationship with it, is how I kind of see it.
Yeah.
See it that way, or how
I
do you?
do. It's definitely a new relationship with it. And it's, for the most part, I am free. I don't identify with it on the same level. Like, I don't have that weight inside of me. I don't have that sadness lurking deep down in my beingness. And it's no longer in me energetically. Like, that's the most important piece. It's not in me energetically. I'm not carrying the energy of it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is why the weight and the sadness are gone. Now, I don't live in the loop anymore. However, does it mean that I don't get triggered anymore? No. I just got triggered a couple weeks ago with I have a mentor and a coach I'm working with. And I was triggered, but she was challenging something in me. So but that's normal, right? That's a normal type of trigger, versus other types of triggers that, are really more because I'm still so sensitive to, you know what I mean?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, but what I want to speak to that is I do believe though that, I believe it's possible to be free. I've experienced it on this huge, huge level, but I also believe that there still remains the potential to backslide into it because I'm human. And so if I'm not taking care of my energy body, if I'm not taking care of my spirit and my soul, if I'm not staying connected to my divinity within, if I move away from that, I mean, that's then things can get because what happened to me when I got triggered is I said, this is the terms I use, I had a mental relapse. I call it a mental relapse. I left my body again and I went right back up into my head. And so when I leave my body, my beingness, and I go back upstairs into my little head all by myself, it's a problem for Jen. It's not good. So, and I got all back into the overwhelm and the panic and the worry and pressure and, those human things that everybody deals with every day on a human level. And so then I had enough, and I made the power of decision. Okay, I'm done. I'm done with overwhelm. I'm checking out upstairs. I'm coming back down into my body, and I'm into my beingness, right? And so when I am able to stay in that realm of my beingness, which is really the divine, things go much, much more smoothly for me. So yeah, I think it's a fine line. I think, and everybody's different. So I don't know that there's one size fits all for the level of freedom that one is going to experience.
Right.
I do believe you truly make the decision for it to be a certain way, that it can be. I do believe that, because there's frequencies for everything, and we just have to match ourselves to them.
Right, exactly. All the frequencies are sort of available to us, right?
Yes.
I mean, potentially, that's why I always say everything's possible, everything's available,
Yep.
anything could unfold. it may or may not interest our deeper soul aspect, ultimately, but and I think, we're all wanting to, integrate and come back into wholeness, and whatever the right frequencies are for that is what we're really looking for. So those are
Right.
the ones who are going to ultimately seek out. I mean, we may go down some false roads, right? But
Yes.
but they lead us to the right place ultimately.
Yes.
Again, if we look at through the whole
Yep.
incarnation of the soul, so in all the lifetimes. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing. One of the things is I keep be curious about is like, at what point did you kind of talked about it for sure. You went through each, through your life and the different times, but I mean, to have MS, it's something we haven't emphasized through the show. To have MS, and that's something, again, is another one that people, I mean, again, I don't know a lot about it, but I just know a lot of times you got it, there's no way you're gonna, get clear of that. And
Yeah, I was conditioned with that too. I
yeah,
was conditioned, I'm just going to get worse as I get older.
yeah,
I'm stuck with it. You're just going to, it's progressive. There's no cure. It's progressive and it's disabling. The more it progresses, the more disabled you'll be. And that was true for up to 7 years because I was doing it their way and listening to them. And I was on all the medications, the injections, the infusions, the IVs, the home care nursing, everything. And that day that I was like, my body was screaming. It couldn't take one more infusion. It couldn't take one more stick of the needle. Like it just couldn't take one more drip. And so I listened to it and I called up and I said, no more, I'm done. And so when I made that, see, this is an important piece too, and something that I'm going to highlight in my course is the support aspect, because I didn't have support. When I made these divine decisions back then around this, I didn't have the support. Like my medical team was like, everybody was running around in a frenzy, like, and my family and friends. And it was all fear based. It was all fear driven. Like, you're going to get sicker. You can't go off your medications. And I'm sitting there like, are you joking me right now? Because, like, blind, vertigo, paralysis, like, I mean, everything under the sun you can think of, I went through. And I'm like, I got nothing to lose. And I was strong enough. I found the strength to listen to that inner knowing. Like, I was so divinely led. It was like the divine just picked me up and said, come on, kid, let's do this. And I didn't feel like I had another option. It was so strong. Thank God, because like I didn't have the external supports to back up my decision. I had my internal divine support that was the decision backing me up, and that's what I went with. So I had to break through the conditioning, absolutely. And so with the power of decision comes, and like that's why the definition of that is choosing and embodying an unshakable truth. I had to like look at my belief system around the body, around disease, about healing, about medical. Like I had to look at all that and look at what were my beliefs, what was I believing, and well, why do I believe this? Well, this is what I was told. Like questioning, get curious. Like that's probably the number one thing I could tell people: get curious about what you believe and why you believe it, and why you're being told. Like, what are you being told? And then you check in with yourself and say, well, does that make sense to me? Is that true for me? Just because it's true for society or true for your neighbor doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be true for you. So that's really part of the process too, is like checking in with yourself and saying, well, does this make sense to me? And you'll feel it. You'll feel it. You can feel that. And if it doesn't make sense, then let me choose differently. And that's what the power of decision is all about, is tapping into your power within to choose differently. Because we all can at any given moment. Any given moment, any single one of us is one decision away from a new reality and a new experience of whatever it is that you're facing. So I'm here to say, I'm challenging the conditioning. So can you heal from a disease like MS? Absolutely. And I will tell you, I literally, working with my energy guide, we just moved the last of the trauma energy that was the MS, quote unquote, out of my legs. I have not, for about a month, I have not had any tremors or spasms. I've had them for 22 years. Wow. And energetically, I was able to discern that is trauma energy still trapped in my body? Because I truly believe that trauma and suppression create dis-ease in the body. And so by the time I was 29 and I woke up that day, it wasn't just left field. It was like I had to, while we started this conversation, it was years of suppression, cellularly and energetically. And so here I am all these years later. Finally, we just moved the last of the trauma energy out of my legs. And I'm free of that. So it's all possible, Daniel. It's all possible. I'm walking, living, seeing, breathing proof that it's possible.
I mean, it's just that in itself is phenomenal. I mean,
yeah, people would call it a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at just the, if you just look at it like from a mind's perspective of I had MS and now I've moved through all those layers of that and I'm whole. I mean, I'm well. You know, just that alone is just mind blowing, and it's
it is.
Yeah,
it is. I know.
Everything else that you've moved through on so many every other level. So that's just so huge, and
very blessed.
That, you know, and the medicine of the future really is going to be this. It's going to be energy medicine. I mean,
well, Einstein said it best.
Yeah.
He said the future of medicine is the medicine of frequency. And I'm here to say the future is now, like it's here. Yeah. We didn't even get to talk about that, the frequency healing device. There's a wearable frequency healing device that I have that is available now. It's German technology with a quantum sensor. That's a whole nother show, my friend.
Right.
Like,
That's a whole nother show.
You want me to blow your mind? Yeah. Let's blow our minds about this quantum sensor on this frequency healing device.
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of it. And the biggest thing is your power of decision is it is the missing link. It is the biggest thing is to allow yourself to the power to decide, because no matter how powerful devices are and everything, they can't do all that your decisions can do. They just can't. And so because I fully am into that sort of thing, but I just want to reiterate to people, everything's good, all that stuff's good. And there's no power like the power of decision. And then just opening yourself to these frequencies to allow yourself to heal wherever you can get them, whether it is a device or if it's through an energy guide like Jen or whoever it may be. But Jen, I mean, obviously
our decision, like I want to say, like our power lies in our decisions.
Yeah.
Like that's what I've learned. One of my greatest lessons on this planet in this lifetime is our power lies within our decisions.
Yeah. Period. And so, yeah, it's so interesting. I just had a guest on not too long ago. People might want to check that one out too. With Yoram is his first name. I don't want to butcher his last name, but and we spent most of the show talking about decision. It's a topic worth revisiting again and again.
It is.
We just, even us, right, Jen, we know better, and like sometimes we just forget sometimes.
I know.
We need the reminders. So
clearly we could go another hour talking about this, because I could talk all day about this, my friend. Like power of decision is my jam. Like decisions, that is our power.
Yes.
It lies in our decisions.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to try to reactivate your video here. We're going to start wrapping up. I want to see if we can get it stabilized with your voice this time. I hit the button. It should come back.
Yeah, I assume that's
great.
why
Yeah.
So shut me down.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure we could hear you. So
that's most important.
Yeah. Most of our listeners are listening through audio. So we're coming to beginning to come to a close. Any last words you have for people before we begin to close?
I just that each one of us is a powerful creator. That's really that's my brand. That's my message. Like, you're a powerful creator, and I'm all about putting healing back in your hands, because we have the power to heal. Whether we're talking about mind, body, or spirit, like if it's an illness like MS or if it's trauma, whatever it might be, a relationship, whatever it might be, we all have the power to heal, and we all have the power to heal whole. And we get to, here's what I'm going to, you get to decide what that means, what that feels like and looks like for you, healing whole, because it's different for each person. So you get, that's powerful. Like, you get to decide what that's going to feel like and look like for you. Nobody else gets to decide that for you, but you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you may not know all the specifics of what it's going to end up feeling like and being like, but yeah, I mean, absolutely in the direction, you'll have a sense to know it. And so I feel like that the power that the empowerment you're going to bring people that want to reach out to you, and you're going to give them a way to do that, is to make the decision. And it's so funny, like, that's like the one of the biggest things I talk about every time someone talks about working with me. I said, well, do you want to decide to have this be different? Truly, do you want this to be different? Because if you decide, it's going to happen. It will happen as long as you decide. But if you don't decide, it won't happen. And so people have to make the decision to take the steps they need to take in order to experience what it is that
no matter what.
Yeah, with
decide,
no matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah, and look how many years it's taken you to get to these last layers of trauma, right? It's taken so many years, and and you just had a no matter what kind of energy about it. So it's just no matter what, we're clearing it, and that's what always works. It always works when you have.
Yeah, there were times I wanted to give up. There were times I wanted to end my life. I mean, there were so many dark times, but there's just something, and there's a light, and there's something inside of me that just wouldn't let me go.
Yeah.
Wouldn't let me go that route. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah. And so we want to share with people the opportunity to connect with you. I think you said so tell us about how they could connect with you.
Well, they can find me, they can shoot an email. It's powertohealwithjen@gmail. So powertohealwithjen@gmail. They can also find me under my name on Facebook, Jen Russman, Russman. Look for the girl with the purple hair. I'm on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn and then / is Powerful Creator. And I also have a private group on Facebook for women called Powerful Creators, Women Raising Vibration Together. So that's another way, but I can also give out my phone number if people want to get in touch with me personally around the energy healing work that I do. I'm happy to do that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number is area code is 518, and the number is 892-0265. So 518-892-0265. You can feel free to text me if you're more comfortable with that, or just pick up the phone and give me a call. Leave a message if I don't answer, and I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, great. And we'll put some of that for sure in the show notes. And
I do have a website, but it's not published yet. I'm thinking 2 weeks it's going to go live. So I'm just wrapping up a few things. But that website is powerfulcreatorwithjen.com. Put that in the information, or whatever you do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So one of the things I like to do as we begin to wrap up the show is just to take a minute or two to tune into you if I've got any messages, or just to see you if you're open to that.
Well, this is the fun part. Yeah.
Fun, your favorite to receive as well, right?
Always open to receive.
Okay, let's see what wants to come through. Well, what's coming through the chair anyway is just they're showing me the things. It's not nothing you don't know, but it's those healing hands. They're showing me your hands very strongly, so they want you to be even more aware of the power of your healing hands. And so it could be just doing this sort of thing, or it could be touch, but I feel there's a magic you have through your hands. It's just a little extra gift. You can touch people, and they feel your healing touch right away. And it can be, just energetic through your hands as well. But like you have a power too with your touch of your hand, I get. And the more you claim that, the more automatically people will be shifted, like huge, like just the lightest touch, is what I'm getting, like this lightest touch. Because I think sometimes, this is a message for everybody, and I don't, if it's a message for you too, that's great. But like, I feel like, yeah, all of us as healers, sometimes it's always the simpler we can make the healing, the better, right? So it's like, the more we can just let it be easier, even easier. So that message seems to be coming through. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm just getting, Jesus is the next one coming in the strongest. And they're all like, me. How come? So the feeling. So Jesus is coming in the strongest. And I just see like this staff of life energy coming in. And it comes into your heart. And yeah, I mean, one of your huge missions is to help with the area of health and healing. I mean, that it's got you it is all these other things too, I'm sure, but it's like they really want you to bring physical healing to people and everything that goes into that, right? So they're really showing me that, and that seems to be important to double and triple down on, because literally, like you could do so much in this realm, is what I'm hearing. Like there's so much, and I almost feel like they really want you to go deeper into that, even like even
Really?
more focus there. Yeah, I've just given what's coming through.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't mean
it's definitely linked to trauma.
Yeah, I mean, right, and it doesn't mean that all the other stuff doesn't apply still. It's just like they want you really to focus. There's a feeling I'm getting. Yeah, sometimes I go through the chakras and everything, but like those are the core messages coming through right now, that I want to share in just this brief period of time.
Awesome.
So I just want to share those things with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then I just.
So you got a relationship with Jesus? Is that what you're telling me?
You do, and maybe
nice.
That's part of what you want to cultivate, more of that connection and that awareness there as well. There's always so much, right? So anyway, that's something I'm supposed to give you some presence and attention to today. And
beautiful.
So, yeah, and I just want to share with everybody else that if you want to, again, check me out. You always go to just, as most people have probably heard me before, go to yoursacredpurpose.com. We've got the free Meditate and Make Money meditation, and opens up your chakras and energies, and you can get your downloads. People make more money listening to that as long as they faithfully actually listen to it on a regular basis, right? So it all works. And then there's also chances for you to connect with me and get some scanning of your own, and if you feel drawn to that. So yeah, but take advantage of what Jen's offering you. She's very chill about it, and she's genuine and real, and it's just that's something I really deeply appreciate. And so feel free to contact her. And so that's about it, Jen. Any very, very last words now?
Namaste.
Namaste. All right. Okay.
And thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much for coming on today. And Jen is somebody you definitely want to be with. So everybody, again, we're so grateful to have you tune in. You keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everybody. You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.